Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. As always, I have a few exercises, things to consider today. And these are things that I have been playing around with personally. So some of this has happened over the last couple of years, maybe over the last 5 to 10 years. And I am definitely a work in progress with all of these things. None of it I am doing perfectly. Things are always open to being tweaked or experimented with, etc. So I just wanted to talk through some of my findings. So I realized from a very early age that if I wanted to create something different from what I was being shown, I would have to do things in a different way. So what was delivered to me at school was this feeling of resentment, of, oh gosh, I've got to do that thing. The energy often felt really low. There was a lot of cutting corners. There was a lot of doing the bare minimum. There was a lot of fading into the background, doing stuff but not really enjoying it. And when I was about 16, I remember thinking, do I want to spend my life in that place of just doing the bare minimum, or showing up, or being in a state of bitching about other people, or being a bit of a negative presence? And the answer was no. And I also recognized that I wanted quite a different career. So if I wanted my career to build and go to the levels I wanted it to, yes, I was waiting for yeses, but ultimately it started and ended with me. So it was on me to create energy, to create enthusiasm, to create resilience, to create a good attitude, a way forward, a solution-orientated mindset, all of the above. And so from a very early age, I began to recognize how I was operating and the behaviors that I was taking on, and became very analytical of what was serving me and what wasn't. Now, you will have heard this terminology so many times of, will this thing make the boat go faster? Is it a yes or is it a no? And sometimes people take these to extreme of, will it make the boat go faster? Okay, I'm going to do another 8 hours and work throughout the night and block off everything else. But I ultimately am looking to make the boat go faster in all areas of my life. You know, I want to be successful in business, but I also want to maintain and thrive in my relationships, as a couple, as a mum, as a daughter, as a sister, as an auntie, as a godmother, all of these things. And so I begun very early on the project of getting to know myself. And this sometimes takes courage, often takes courage, and I invite you to do the same. Because when you get to know yourself, you get to know all of the parts of yourself. And sometimes those parts are not necessarily what you want to see. Or you can look from the outside and think, why do I do that? I do that all the time, and that's not who I want to be. And there's so many reasons that that might happen. Maybe you haven't seen anything else. Maybe that's just been the norm. Maybe your environment has caused that kind of behavior. Maybe it's a hormonal thing. Maybe it's how you learn. There are so many different elements. And one of my things that I became very familiar with was that I became a bit of a lastminute.com person. Sorry, I don't know why I'm using that phrase. Because, here we go. I'm going to make excuses already. I would have lots of different things that I wanted to fit into my day. So the fact that I didn't have many days or time or hours where I would just have to sort of be in the process, I would be scheduling lots of things. So I had to find a window of opportunity to put the things into. So that meant that I was a bit of a last minute person. But what I discovered was the last minute thing, it got to a stage where it was no longer serving me, because it felt like something was hovering over me the whole time of leaving it till the last minute. Throw in a couple of kids, the pandemic, all sorts of other things. Suddenly I needed to become more organized, because at that last minute, in that state, I was no longer giving myself wiggle room. So if something happened at last minute where, I don't know, if I'd left it the half an hour before my acting class to learn my lines, and then suddenly one of my children hurt themselves and needed me, well, I didn't have any more time. Like, how was I going to do that? And of course, I would always go to my child first. So I had to really understand what my behavior was. So in doing this acting class, which I'm doing, so tonight is week 4. And for the last few weeks, I've been getting lots of feedback. And there's nothing like seeing your face on camera and making a commitment to yourself that you're going to show up at a certain time and pay for the 10 classes and do all of that. When you meet what it is that you want, you have to be willing to receive the feedback. Now, most people don't actually sign up for the thing, or they don't do the thing because it's easier to stay in the unknown. It's easier to stay in well, I could have done that, but I just didn't. Or like, I don't know, you know how it is, all the negative stuff. It actually takes guts to do the thing. And I was saying this to another class member the other day. It takes guts to say, okay, I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to be in a beginner state. I'm ready to get things wrong. I'm ready to get feedback. I'm ready to see how much flipping work I've got to do. Because again, it's easy to say you want the thing. It's easy to journal about something or to cut some pieces of paper out and make a vision board. It's easy to do that. But to actually do the work that it takes in order to bring that to life, that is a different thing. So this week, even though I felt like I'd been on it with my lines and my scenes and I was prepared and all of that stuff, I challenged myself this week and said, get on this thing earlier. Get on the train earlier than you think you need to. And again, I was met with it'll be all right. It'll be all right. You can just do it a little bit later. You've got a week. You've got a week to do this. Old pattern, not helpful. And already I have been learning my lines, working on my scene, etc. And I had a meeting today with my scene partner to run through this. And to know that I have done so much work already in advance of the thing I need to do feels really good. And therefore, I know I'm going to go into tonight with more confidence, more assurance, more stability, knowing that I can do things, and more opportunity to play. And this is what happens lots of the time with coaching conversations that I have. When people say that they want to do something and they're waiting for the perfect time. Now, sometimes there is a better time. If you are 36 weeks pregnant and you're thinking about starting a business, maybe wait until your baby's out in the world and you are recovered and you are in the next groove of your life before adding something on. If you are in a massive renovation, maybe that's not the time to plan a trip around the world where nobody can contact you because you need to be at home noticing what builders are doing, paying bills, etc. What I'm talking about is when we convince ourselves that something is not the perfect time because maybe there's some fear pulling us back. Maybe there's some emotion. Maybe there's a conversation that we need to have with ourselves. And the thing is, there are so many excuses and reasons and societal timings that will make us okay with the fact that we're in our decision. So for me, I know I have a pivotal moment in September where both of my children will be at school. And that will be a huge shift in so many ways for me. But what I'm really noticing is at first, the temptation was to put things on hold until day one of both kids being at school. And actually, what I needed to do, and I started to put this process in 6 months ago, was to get myself ready. So it's almost like it's marathon day. You know, if you say that you're going to run a marathon on a certain day, you can't just rock up on that day and say, okay, let's go. There's training, there's prep, there's stuff going on behind the scenes. So likewise I've been having lots of agent meetings. I've been working on my pitch decks. I had a new branding situation for my website. I moved over all my courses, etc. So those things have been happening behind the scenes. So when September happens, I'm not feeling like I'm starting from scratch. Things are in the mix. Now, I'm not saying also that you have to do all of the things and set yourself this schedule that is so enormous. But there are tiny little things that you can choose every day that is going to put you towards the path or take you away. And I know for so many of my clients, they are so busy. They have so many things. They're pulled in so many different directions. And so sometimes it might be, what can I do in 5 minutes? Yes, I could mindlessly scroll on Instagram, but maybe having a 5-minute meditation practice is going to be great for me because that's where you reconnect with yourself. That's when you really work on your breath, for example. Maybe it's when you make a cup of tea or sit down and have a glass of water. Maybe that is a really lovely habit that is pointing you in the direction of where you're going. One final thing I want to say today is the power of a container. And many people are nervous about containers, I think, post-pandemic, because we still have the hangover of, I don't know, can we plan anything? Like, can we do this anymore? Do we just take it day by day? And when I'm talking about containers, I'm talking about that shift in yourself of you focusing on something. So I've spoken lots about this on my hot yoga journey. So on April the 4th, 2022, I decided to go back to hot yoga and see what I could do and see what progress I could make. And my core and all of my body really, I felt, I did not feel strong in it at all. And I felt like I needed to almost get it, like restructure it. It felt like an old building that was like, oof, there's a bit of something going on there. That wall's a bit wonky. And I wanted to get to a stage. I'm never going to be an international yoga champion. You never know. That might be a limiting belief. But I knew I needed to get back to a place where I felt strong again, where I didn't make old lady noises when I got out of the chair, like, ooh, like I wanted to see if I could reconnect with my body in that way. And this is when a power of a container came in. Yes, I could have done some YouTube videos, but I never did. Yes, I could buy some casual 5-day passes or whatever. But what I actually needed to do was to give myself a container. So the yoga place that I go to, they encourage you, or they offer that you sign up for 6 months. And to me, a 6-month container was exactly what I needed. Because in that time, I needed a chunk of time to dedicate myself to, and also have wiggle room in there to experiment, to really get stuck in, to not just kind of float in and out, to go and get on that mat on all of the days that I felt like it and all of the days that I didn't. And what's happened, and I'm now in my 3rd block of 6, I have noticed an enormous difference. Again, I'm not an international yoga superstar, but because I've had that commitment, that shift, and I don't go every day. There have been some weeks where I haven't been at all. Like if I've been on holiday or whatever, it's all good because I've created that container of yoga is in my life for the next 6 months. And so I want you to think about your goals for your life, for your business, for a significant amount of time. What is the next month about for you? What are the next 90 days about for you? What's the next 6 months? What's the next year? What's the next term? However you like to define this, what is that about for you? And are you going to get up amongst it, whatever it is that you're doing, and really dedicate your energy to it? Now, of course, we might have this like, but what if I get, to use the yoga example, what if I get injured? What if something happens? What if I don't have enough childcare? Well, I'm going to do it. If I can't do it this week, I'll see if I can do it next week, because in my mind, I am dedicated for the container of the 6 months. If you are thinking about the next 6 months, so from now until the end of the year, I would love you to come to my workshop on Saturday, the 1st of July, and you saying yes to yourself, you giving yourself an hour and a half of your time is going to be so incredibly powerful. And here's why. It can be easy to be spontaneous or make it up as you go along or wing it or say you're not really bothered or just see what happens. But that takes up a lot of energy. Imagine if you had some kind of plan, focus, clarity, etc., where you say, I am doing this. I am doing this. And this is what I'm focusing on. And this is what about the next 6 months is. Somebody's now started banging, so I'm going to bring it to a close. Imagine what would happen. And that experiment is so good for you to have with yourself. Because even if it doesn't go perfectly for you, even if you don't meet your goals or whatever it might be, you will be better off having had a go than not. You will have data, you will have information, you will have got to know yourself better. You will know what to do next. And remember, this is not just about perfection at the end of 6 months of like, oh wow, I was not, and this is the story, I was nothing, I was homeless, I was whatever, and now I'm a 7-figure business owner. It may take longer than 6 months. But being committed for the next 6 months and saying, okay, I'm going to do that thing is going to give you way more information and way more joy and way more results than being random. I will leave the links down below for the workshop. I would love to see you. There are 3 ways to join. Do check them out and I'll hopefully see you on Saturday. There is a full replay, of course. I hope this was food for thought for you today. Let me know what you're going to do, what you're going to take away. Rate, review, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you very soon.